Okay, recording.
Well, hello everybody. My computer says it's 4 o'clock on the dot, so we'll make a start here. I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar by Nick Cardwell from exam.net and Adam and Andy from Larbert High School. And we're here because last year you probably know that various people were investigating the use of online assessment systems such as exam.net, Trelson Assessment and OrbitNote. And so some progress has been made in that regard, and Nick, Adam, and Andy are just going to tell us about it from their perspective. So, thanks very much indeed. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, hi, my name is Nick. Nicola is my full name. Please know me as Nick. That's no one else apart from my mother, I think, calls me Nicola anymore. So I'm just going to briefly present how exam.net works, and because I'm sure that you're very keen to hear from actual teachers. I'm sitting in Sweden. I thought I'd lit the fire today, especially so you could see I'm sitting in chilly Sweden today, where our company is based. And I've had many meetings with Andy and Adam now, and lots of communication with them, and they're using exam.net and have been doing for a little while now. So I'm going to briefly show you how to make an exam. I'm just going to start presenting now, so I can show you a little bit about my company and who I am, very briefly. Just checking that actually is presenting right there. Yes, okay. So this is a company, it's a very young company. We're about 10 years old, and it's an assessment platform which can be made secure so that students can't escape during a high stakes exam, and lots of functions designed to support students with diverse learning issues. Who am I? This is where I had a problem earlier. Forgive me, I won't be able to present. I'm going to have to just, nope, it won't do it for me. I'm going to stop and start again. I'm sorry, this happened earlier and did not work well. Forgive me. I'm just going to share again in a different way. Technical problems always ruin it, don't they? Let's go back here now then. Okay, so I'm just going to have to present it like this rather than doing a slideshow. Forgive me. It's just a little bit smaller. Doesn't matter too much. Okay, so that's my company. If I now go to the next slide. This is me. I've lived in Sweden for almost 30 years and been a classroom teacher of mathematics for more than 30 years, mostly within the International Baccalaureate. I've used exam.net myself in the classroom since 2017. In Sweden, we're quite well ahead with digital things. I'm the main contact at the moment and support for Scottish schools who are trialling exam.net, of which there is a growing number at the moment. And there's my email there. Can I just say now, this presentation will be shared with you through call. I've not only got a couple of slides I'm going to show today, but I've got a whole lot of inspiration and help for those support for learning teachers later on in this slideshow. So I'll send that out later, or Robert will from call. Okay, so without further ado, let's pop over to exam.net, the platform then. And once you arrive in here, just keeping my eye on the time here. Once you arrive in here, you arrive in what's called your exam list. I've organised it a bit here. You can see I've got my own Scottish group of tests and assessments here. Note the colours. I remember that just reminded me of, well, I don't know, sort of a damaged youth trying to get my dad's attention when he was watching rugby union. Those are the colours of the shirts, are they not? So here are a few things I created earlier, but what I'm going to show you today is how easy it is to create a new exam. So we're going to go to new exam, and we say exam in a very loose way. Teachers in Sweden who are well ahead and experienced with this now use exam.net for almost for every classroom with the students. So whether it's a quiz or an exit ticket or a formative assessment, and of course the high stakes exams. So you can make all sorts of materials and worksheets here. I won't pop in here now, but just to tell you, you can make up questions with auto marking. You can use AI to create multiple choice questions and so on now. That's quite recent. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a sort of text response type assessment. You can upload a PDF in a few seconds. The downside of that is that it is an image very often, and not all the tools for students with ASN are available within a PDF. So I'm just going to show, just for the sake of demonstrating the tools today, I'm going to choose one of these ones where you paste in a text. And I've got another document here where I'm just going to copy the text and I'm going to pop back in here and paste it in. So there it comes in a couple of minutes. I can just check that. I can also call it something here. Let's call it call demo so you can see it later when it pops up. And at this point, you could print out, of course, if you've got students who maybe need to highlight their work as well as actually reading digitally, because that helps them read. That you can do here and later, of course. And then I can go in and I can add some tools. There are some default tools, which I'll show. In fact, I could show you that now. Let's just pop in here really quickly to the preview. Here you can see what it'll look like for students. They've got a writing area. Here's the question paper. They can play around with the format if that's what they want to do. And down here in the bottom left is a student corner, I call it, where they can control a few things themselves. So you can set it to a dyslexic font, for example. You can change the color and contrast of the writing area and the question paper, and you can turn off the clock if you're stressed by that, for example. So it would look like this, and then they can write away. And you've got your normal editing tools up here. So that's how it looks before you as a teacher add any more tools and functions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in and configure this. And basically, this is your settings. Now, I'm going to skim through here because of time. I'm just going to focus on a few things which are important for you as support for learning teachers. But just to mention that if your school has Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, there can be an integration that happens between the two if you want to feedback student work and your comments afterwards, marking wise. And this is important, what the student has to do to get into the exam. Now, in a moment, I'm going to offer you the opportunity, if you want to get into the exam I'm literally making now. And to do that, I'm just going to leave it on first and last name to make it easy for today. But if you add email, you would need to add email if you do not use these integrations to get feedback to the students. So just to mention in passing, that is important. So what can we do as teachers then? While I'm in these configurations, I'm going to be affecting the whole class. So that every student in the class will see these tools in the margin when they get into their exam window. You can add individual ones later, as I'll show you. And I know that Adam and Andy are going to talk more about that later. Very practically speaking. So the writing area you saw was blank. You can change that. For example, you can define content if you want to add structure to help the kids know where they've got to write the question numbers if they have difficulty with that. You can also, and I advise you to get rid of the writing area if you're a maths or physics teacher, because the writing in maths, physics within the formulas and so on within the editing view is not very good yet. You can limit the number of words there if you want to. I'm going to add on a spell check for English here. And here I'm just skimming through to accessibility tools now, which is of most interest to you people today. Text to speech I'm going to pop on. Can I mention in passing that speech to text, so the students can dictate into the exam, that is in development and should be ready within the month. So that is coming at the moment. We've also got a translation help, which I found absolutely, it just saved me in the international baccalaureate classes where I had 20 different languages in the classroom. I could use classroom activities, have this available. It saved me so much time wandering around the class, not having to help them with language issues. I'm in Sweden today, it's where our company is based, so hence you see a Swedish dictionary, but you would see English relevant for the UK here in your selection. You can also add audio files if that would be useful. You can add subject tools here, mainly for maths and science and so on, but hiding here is an audio recorder you can use as well. So if your students need to give their answers orally instead of written, you can get that switched on there. And then I come down to added resources. I'm just going to load up a PDF as a kind of extra document in the menu here. I've got sort of an extra source document, if you like, which I can open, and that will pop up in just a few minutes. I need to just check that it's all there, see how quick that went. It's all very quick and smooth. You can also add websites here as external resources if you want the students to have access to that. But you probably wouldn't want to do that in an exam where you want them locked in and secure, because through links there, they might be able to escape from the exam, which is where we come to the most important thing. And the last thing in the configurations here is the security. Now, if you're going to do a high stakes exam, and I know if you're doing SQA exams, for example, you would definitely want to have high security here. what does this mean? This means that the students cannot paste in any text. They cannot use ChatGPT. They cannot access the internet. They are absolutely locked in. And I'm hoping that Andy and Adam will agree with me there later that there's absolutely no question of them getting out. Today, I'm going to disable it so that you can get in more easily. But just a note to say that you will need either an extra app for your Chromebooks, iPads, if you've got student Chromebooks and iPads, or SEB Safe Exam Browser. So there's an extra thing you need to build in there before you can run these high stakes exams with high security. There's lots of information here contained within the website. Okay, I am going to just pop in and show you briefly how that looks. So now it's changed. You see these things have turned up in the left-hand menu here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save that, and you'll see that I'm taken back to my exam list, and it's popped in. It's at the very top here. Okay, what do I need to do as a teacher now then to enable the students to come into this exam? First of all, I need to open it. I'll just keep simple for the moment. And I also need to give the students the exam key there. And what I would like you to give to you now is a choice. You can either watch me. I'm going to be sitting in the monitoring view, and the students will be popping in here. Or you can actually, if you're okay about switching between tabs and you don't mind the fiddliness of it right now, you can actually come into the exam now with me if you'd like to. Well, not with me, but with anybody else who's going to go in. So how do we do this? Let me just show you. I'm going to pause on that monitoring view, which I'm going to return to in a few moments. If I go back to my presentation here and show you this slide, I've just copied the exam key, and I'm just going to type that in there. So if you want to participate as a student now and see what it's actually like inside the exam window, you can go to our website there, exam.net, in another tab, and you can enter the student exam key in the field here that's indicated, and then you should be able to get into the exam. So I'm going to pause here so that you find the right website if you want to join us. It'll be fun if a few people come on in, and then you can experience it from a student perspective. Notice that no accounts are needed for students here. It's extremely simple to get everybody in. Well, I say that. I tried it with my family earlier. It was less successful. Okay. So I'm just going to pop back to my monitoring view where I can still show the exam key. If you haven't quite finished typing, I will go here and just make this. Oh, great. Lots of people in. You're very efficient today. Well done. So there's the exam key if some of you are still thinking of popping in. Oh,
Nick, I'm checking the name that you want us to use. Is it Nick Cardwell you were saying to use?
Yeah, but you're going to put your name in when you come into the exam.
Okay.
Yeah. So enter it as if you're a student. So you put your name in, follow the instructions, and then you should get into the exam or the assessment. The only time this can be a problem is if two students have got exactly the same first and second names. Okay. So I'll let you play around literally for a couple of minutes because we don't have more than a couple of minutes. But once again, you can get into this exam again later on if you want with a different name. You won't be able to get in with the same one. So if you want to go back in and try it again. Helping you find the chat function. If you chat back to me, it's absolutely private between you and me. That's a question that just popped up. Someone's asking if you can change the voices. I'm thinking in the text to speech. At the moment, no. I'm afraid. There are no Scottish accents involved, if that's what you were thinking. Gosh, there's too many chats for me to handle here. I'm doing my best in the monitoring view, but I'm getting a bit stressed out as a teacher here. Okay, we've got a few nice questions coming up here. If there's ones that are useful for everyone, I will speak out. Let's see what else we've got here. Someone's just asked a really good question about navigating in the student window. And oh, I don't know quite how to, this Gillian asking me this. I'm just thinking I can maybe show you, Gillian. If you come back to my tab, I can show you how to open all 3 windows at once. So if you want to come back to my tab, those of you who've found it difficult to just get the PDF alongside the question paper, for example, I'm now in the exam. So what you can do, if you click on the name of the PDF thing, it will open up the whole window like that, and then you have to take it away again. But if you just click the plus here next to it, you can get all 3 things. I mean, admittedly, you need to sort of play around a little bit, but you can get all 3 alongside each other, and you can shut things down. You can take the exam away here. So you can use the pluses and minuses in the menu here. I hope that was helpful. Where am I going now? Let's see if there are other. Someone's just asked a question. I was going to say this chat is extremely good to help students get going. If I know you haven't had so much time, but if you could, do not submit your exam, but please come back to my window and I can give you a little guided tour of what's going on for the teacher. If you've submitted, don't worry. I just thought if it's still open and I can actually see chats and things. I'm just wary of the time. I've had some good questions come up here. I haven't managed to answer them all, I'm afraid, but back here in my monitoring view, you can see the experience from my perspective now. So I can see all of you down here on the left-hand side. I can see chat messages have come in. If I click on Gillian there, she said that she had just got me. Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Gillian, for your help with the PDF thing there. Holly's got a question here, and this is very private, just to say again, no one else can see this. Would invigilators be able to use this to monitor work too? This is for the invigilator, this whole procedure I'm doing now. So I'm not quite sure what your question means. I'm so sorry. If you want to clarify, please call out. You can share an exam and get someone else to invigilate with you as well and manage the chat together. That is something you can do. Can you see that Chris's name has got a little lightning bolt beside it? That means that he's probably gone away from the window. He's shut his computer, or his computer battery's gone, or something like that. So you can sort of get an overview of what's going on. But most importantly for today's audience, I just want to mention here that I'm on Holly. I hope that's okay. Accommodations you can add and subtract for individual students once you're in this monitoring view. And I know Adam and Andy are going to talk a little bit more about how they do this later. But just so you can see, you can add and subtract. Notice these 2 are on because I added them for everyone when I was going through and setting up the exam. So you not only get an overview here, you can also see how a student's answer is developing. Now, Holly hasn't written anything, but I'm hoping that Andy's written something. If I click on him. No, he hasn't. Has Adam written something? No, no one's written anything. Has anyone written anything? Let's have a look. Is Paul here? Anyone written anything? I'm just going to click through everybody. Ah, there we go. Thank you. Dave has written something. Good old Dave. So he's written a student answer here. And I can see that from where I am, and it will update, not exactly live, but there's a delay of less than a minute, I think, between a student typing and me seeing what's going on. So that's incredible. Also, you can see a development of the student work here, sort of with a timeline, which could be useful for suspect cheating afterwards as well. So back to my overview, just to speed things up here. I was in the monitoring view. You can then see once everybody's ended the exam, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to force you all to end the exam, and I can, if I want to, have a student who's got extra time exempt from me ending the exam, so I can control extra time in that way if I want to. If I end it, you'll see that all this drama happens now. Here you all come. And I could then go to the results and I can export to like Google Classroom, for example, to mark there. I could download and mark with a PDF. I could download in the good old fashioned way with paper and pen and mark there. And then I can also send results if I choose to mark here, which I could if I clicked on somebody. I could add a comment here in exam.net and then I can send that back to them there via email. So that was the brief one I wanted to go through there. Okay, I think I'm wrapping up now just to be able to give as much time as possible for Andy and Adam to hop in very soon. Let me just pop back to my other presentation. I'm sorry if that felt a bit rushed at the end. I just know there's more important things to get onto. Before I leave my presentation, I'd just like to show you this. The rest of my presentation includes the following things: how to sign up with us and what that means, a quick guide to making your own exam like I did today, lots of ideas to support students with different challenges, creative ideas from teacher colleagues, and then things that are coming soon and some other useful resources and ideas. So this will be shared with you, and I hope that it's a very useful document. So I feel like I've been on speed for the last few minutes now, so I hope that was okay. I'm now going to stop sharing and hand over to Adam and Andy. So bye for now from me. I will be around at the end and I can hang on beyond the end to answer any further questions, if that should be helpful.
Thanks, Nick. My name's Andy Auld. I am a deputy at Larbert High with the remit of SQA coordinator, and I have Adam Llewellyn with us as well, who's from our humanities faculty, and he's our assessment arrangements manager. So I suppose Nick's already given you that idea of the demo of some of the features of ExamNet. Ultimately, myself and Adam are here today because we just want to share our story regarding how we've found using ExamNet, how we've planned it, how we've implemented it, and I suppose just really sharing with you what works for us and what we genuinely do love about it. It's definitely what I would class as an essential part of what we're doing now within the school. So I suppose with any implementation, we've got to set a bit of context for you guys. We are one of the largest schools in Scotland, got a roll of just over 2,000 pupils. We've got 150 FTE staff approximately. We are massively fortunate that we are as an authority, have a one-to-one device from P5 to S6. So for us, that took away one of the barriers and really showed us the power of what ExamNet can do, because we have one-to-one devices. We've got 40% ASN in our school roll, and that is growing. So it was definitely something that we were looking to do in relation to how we can manage that and make the experience a lot more succinct and a lot better for the pupils as well as for the staff, and from that side of things, as well as the management and quality assurance side of things as well. So our implementation of ExamNet has been over the last 18 months. Adam's been leading on that, who as our assessment arrangements manager. Give a bit of context in relation to what that role means for Adam here. We've managed to give Adam 5 additional non-contact periods on top of his teaching commitment, and we have a highly skilled SFLA, Kerry, who also works as part of the team, and she's 0.8. So from a school of 2,000 pupils, 150 FTE, Adam and Kerry pretty much manage all of our ExamNet ASN arrangements, whether that's day-to-day running from exams that are happening in class, or all of our fabs, etc., from that side of things. So to put that how we came about it, what we've had to do that, we did have an SQA verification. We were given recommendations and a follow-up visit. All that we've done since that implementation has been, take everything that we were given and the advice that we were given, and applied that, and really used ExamNet to allow us to enhance that. I think that's important. This isn't something that we have just kind of came up with ourselves. It's something that we've been through a process on, and it genuinely does allow us to mirror what we did previously, which was very kind of paper and time intensive from that side of things. We found out about ExamNet quite, kind of luckily. We read the TESS article that was written, and it was talking about Glasgow City, and it was talking about the SQA, and when we were reading that, we genuinely did think, is this genuinely a little bit too good to be true? When we kind of jumped in, we said all that we did to get ourselves started was we dropped ExamNet an email, requested a free trial. We got the free trial. We started kind of looking at that within classes with a few kind of key staff. We provided some one-to-one support for pupils in classes with assessments, and then really kind of, we call our prelims our FABs because we do them in a formal assessment block. We really just kind of started running with it from there. So I suppose from that side of things, that's quite a kind of quick overview of us as a school, how we got to this point, and kind of where we've went. I suppose what everyone's looking at here is definitely from Adam. I'm going to hand you over to Adam, who's going to give you a lot more in-depth kind of detail and information regarding what we do, how we do it, and kind of the benefits of it from a kind of ASN and a kind of management of time and resources side of things from there. So I'm just going to pass you over to Adam.
So the first thing for us was similar to what we've had today, which was that original demo and actually getting to see ExamNet live, see ExamNet in action. And right away that set some interesting challenges for us, because we had to take the processes we had in this school and match it up with this new technology and try and find how that could benefit us. But we were quite lucky here, knowing that we've got a staff that would embrace this, and we were really confident once we used this technology that it would fit our school quite nicely. So we began by taking a very similar demo to what we've done today, and we led an inset day with 200 members of staff. So this wasn't just our FTE, our full-time teachers, this was also SFLAs, non-teaching staff, basically anyone who would ever be involved in any of the people-facing context. And we took basically a back-to-school quiz. So what did you do over the summer? And created something very, very similar to what Nick had displayed today, and let teachers just play around with it. Give them the opportunity to just get used to the potential, basically. What kind of things would the pupils be seeing? And the reason we did that was because we wanted teachers, staff to understand straight away how this could be implemented and how this would not be anything new, but be something that was an enhancement on what we were already doing. So we were taking our exact same assessment arrangement process that I'll get into in a couple of slides, and we were matching this up with a brand new piece of technology, and also gave staff the opportunity to see things from a pupil perspective, which we think is really important, because it's the pupils at the end of the day who'll be using this day to day, and they'll have questions, and making sure we were skilled enough to answer those questions was vital. So at that point, we made a couple of organisational decisions in order to try and make it as easy as possible to implement. So one of those was capping all assessments during class time at 80 minutes. So that would mean with the nominal 25% that pupils get for extra time, then all assessments would be 100 minutes, meaning they could be done within a double period. And that meant all pupils could be in class for all assessments unless they had a specific ASN that required a separate room. So that means whether it was extra time or the normal amount of time, but with typing, all pupils would stay in class, and it massively reduced the disruption to classes, having all pupils in one environment. That meant pupils who had questions weren't suddenly in a room with an SFLE who they'd never met before. It meant pupils who had extra time weren't having to miss intervals, lunches, buses potentially in some extreme cases, because they were all met the same exact conditions as their peers. And it really, really helped us, I think, to build pupils' confidence with their assessment arrangements, because suddenly this wasn't this wasn't a completely different experience. This was your normal class experience, your normal working experience with your normal device, but just used in a different way. And that was really, really important to us, matching that up with the current process that we had and making sure that pupils felt genuinely confident doing it. But in order to do that, we knew we couldn't just work with staff, we had to work with our pupils as well. And given our numbers, getting that right was really, really important. So we had 800 pupils on our additional assessment arrangements list. And that ranged from various requirements. We're talking about extra time for a lot of pupils. We're talking about English as an additional language, separate accommodation. We're talking about pupils who still needed just typing. So there is a range and a wealth of need in that. And making sure we had a system that got it right for everyone, while also accepting that each individual pupil was different, was really, really important. And the way we did this was we split our pupils into different sessions, and myself then led those sessions and basically brought the pupils in, gave them the opportunity to, 1, set up the accessibility features on their device, 2, try out ExamNet, and then 3, test their specific accessibility features on their own device. So test their foreign language dictionaries, test their colour filters. And that way, because I was leading that, I was able to get direct feedback from those pupils, which again was just exceptional, because the pupils were able to tell me right away how much they loved the fact that they already had their specific colour filter on their iPad. They didn't need to do anything else. We didn't need to set anything else up. It was just a case of, here's your ExamNet code, you're doing this assessment, same as everyone else. No different experience, nice and smooth, none of that anxiety of, is it going to work today? Am I on a different computer today? What's the problem going to be? It was just exactly as they were used to. And giving the pupils that opportunity to really, really play around with this, I think really, really helped to buy them in on this app and its use in the school. It meant we had pupils going to classes actually saying to staff, oh, am I using ExamNet today? Can I use ExamNet today? We want me to type, so instead of doing it on the computer, can I just do it on my iPad? We actually ended up providing all of our pupils with a keyboard and earphones. So that would mean the pupils could use the speech to text in class and text to speech in class, but also the pupils could use the keyboard to type. And we actually see, I would say, about a 50-50 split between pupils who use the keyboard and pupils who just use the touch screen on their iPad, because ultimately that's their normal way of working. They're quite happy typing on their phone, they're quite happy using a touchscreen, and therefore they're quite happy to do it that way. So it was a problem we thought we were foreseeing, but actually, by listening to the pupils, we've realised that their normal way of working is very different to what we expected their normal way of working to be. So the pupil buy-in on ExamNet was massive, and that then really, really helped us when we had to take it a step forward by really getting staff involved with the planning and the implementation of the programme across the school. The first thing we did was a refresher session for staff on an inset day. So this was a 30-minute refresher on how to use ExamNet, on the pupil experience, and on our assessment arrangement process. That gave staff the opportunity to test the app and to ask questions. But I followed this up by visiting each faculty specifically to talk about what ExamNet could do for them. So for example, in the languages department, ExamNet's audio upload files means we can upload our French listening exams, and the exam can just be completed on that without a need for someone sitting in a room like pressing play on some sort of old cassette player, because some of that's the SUA stuff is still on that. So it took away this massive resource drain and gave us a completely different method of doing that, with the added benefit of, once the exam was created once, it could be used again and again and again. So faculties were able to set up assessments that would be done at certain times a year and simply duplicate them for different year groups. So in terms of the long-term planning, the faculties were very, very positive about that. English as a department, very positive about the future of being able to create their SQA folios without having to worry about AI being used, without having to worry about pupils copying and pasting work. Biology as a faculty, incredibly excited about the multiple choice questions. Maths as a faculty, wanted to know more about the formulas that you're able to activate in ExamNet. The fact that you can have a calculator built into the app, again, cuts down on the resources, cuts down on the bit before the exam of, oh, do you have this, do you have that? Well, no, it's there, it's all accessible. That, again, massive, especially when we're talking about a school with 800 pupils sitting in different assessments. We don't have to worry, do we have our calculators today? Do we have our graph paper? Well, no, we've just ticked the button on ExamNet and it's all there. So suddenly we don't have multiple members of staff running after multiple pupils trying to set up exact parameters. We can do it all in one place. And that's why we're able to actually manage that with myself and one SFLA. So it's a huge, huge, huge advantage. We were also able to take ExamNet's self-paced resources and match that with what we created. That meant staff who wanted to use ExamNet for more complicated things were able to go and upskill themselves, and that really, really helped to build confidence. As a result of that, we're now seeing our humanities and science department complete all of their S1 assessments on ExamNet. Every pupil types, every pupil uses their device, and they're all then able to get what they're entitled to without being in an environment where, let's say, 3 of them are typing, 3 of them are entitled to typing. I don't want to type because I don't want to be looked at, I don't want to be different. Well, no, everyone's doing it. everyone's accessing this the same way. And again, it cuts down teacher workload because, as Nick was able to show you, it's very easy to click 2 buttons and print off 30 PDFs, 300 PDFs when we're talking about our S1 cohort here. So it's a big, big advantage, and it's really, really seen staff buying in to that kind of idea of removing barriers for education for all of our pupils, no matter what the need or expectation is. The process that we use then is, whenever a teacher is going to have an assessment, they make a request to our assessment arrangements team. That request then comes to myself or Kerry, and we produce what we call a blue sheet. That blue sheet has the pupil's name, their subject, their level, and the ExamNet code on it, as well as any arrangements that pupil is entitled to. So if they're entitled to extra time, it'll say extra time 25%. If they're entitled to an electronic scribe, so typing, it'll say that on it. If they're entitled to an electronic reader, so the ability to use text-to-speech, it'll say that on it, all in one place. Teachers then, all we need to do is, at the start of the assessment, they put the blue sheet on the pupil's desk, the blue sheet sees their name, sees the code on it, they type it in, they do the assessment just the same as every other pupil in the class. After the assessment, the teacher, all we need to do is return the blue sheet to us, tick it to say the exam has been completed, we print off the assessment, match it to the blue sheet, return it to the teacher to be marked, and they've got a couple of bits to fill in based on, did the extra time, did the typing, did the arrangement, whatever it may be, did that benefit the pupil? And then we can add that to our records and we can use that to verify. We have seen that already. It was very similar to the system that was used before, only with the added benefit of everything being done in one place. No longer will we extracting pupils from all over the school to go and sit in separate rooms with SFLAs or other members of teaching staff who they potentially had never met before. And I think the best exemplification of how this worked was the fact that we had over 130 different exams at different levels in our FAB block, our prelim block, at the beginning of December. Every single one of these exams was facilitated on ExamNet by a very, very small team, much smaller than expected. The maximum amount of people we had working at any one time on these exams was 2. At one point, we had over 90 pupils sitting different levels of English assessments with 2 SFLAs. And that was all only possible because we could have ExamNet. So we had all the pupils in the room, sitting different levels, all set up beforehand. They entered the ExamNet waiting room. The SFLAs went down their names, ticked the specific AA that was required. So for certain pupils who needed spell check, tick. For certain pupils who get extra time, maybe some of them will get 50% rather than 25%, enter that in. And then at 9 o'clock, when the assessment starts, everyone enters, everyone begins. And the exam then finishes when those pupils' extra time finish. So it was all very, very controlled, and something that would be a huge, huge drain on resources was actually incredibly manageable instead. And that process is where we really, really seen the massive advantage to that. And I think that's really shown on this slide here, where we look at the way things were done over 18 months ago compared to the way things are done now. So when we're talking about our FABs, we're talking about 6+ different rooms with a member of staff in each room and potentially 1 or 2 pupils, depending on what the assessment arrangement requirement was, depending on what the exam was. We're also talking about the school computers, right? The exact same school computers we use. And for our young people, that was quite a big problem because we are talking about young people who potentially have never used a keyboard before, who've never typed on a computer before. It's a completely new experience. And one of the things from talking to the pupils we identified was that anxiety around doing something differently. I'm being taken to a room with someone I've never met and I'm doing something on a device that I've never seen or never used before. And that was already playing into the massive anxiety that existed around assessments. So by removing those barriers, we have seen from our pupils a massive, massive sense of appreciation. So we've went from 6+ members of staff, 6+ rooms, school computers, to 2 rooms, 2 members of staff, and most importantly, the exact same devices the pupils are using on a daily basis. Or if not on a daily basis, at the very least for every single assessment, meaning the conditions are replicated for 12 months throughout the academic year, which has been a massive, massive bonus to us, and a massive benefit basically. Since ExamNet, we have had no issues with the actual use of the app. The app has been excellent. 1 pupil in the entire time in 18 months. So we are talking about 2,000 pupils in this school. We are talking about upwards of 10,000 assessments in that time. 1 pupil was able to get out of ExamNet during that entire time. And they were able to get out of ExamNet by crashing their iPad, meaning they couldn't actually get back into the exam, meaning they couldn't cheat. So they crashed their iPad after 10 minutes, and it was basically a case of, well, you try to cheat, we can't let you continue. But that's the only time any pupil was ever able to actually leave the app by crashing their entire iPad. So in terms of security, in terms of cheating, it has been absolutely excellent. Not a single pupil has ever been able to find a genuine way to cheat in this. And as a result of that, we were then able to take ExamNet, take the processes that we introduced for our prelims, and use it during our SQA exam diet last year. And this is where I think its real advantage comes into play. The fact that we are not just using this for day-to-day assessments for our AAA pupils, but the fact that our AAA pupils were able to use this in the SQA exam diet. Nothing new, nothing different, everything managed in one place, in one environment. And in order to do that, Andy had to go to the SQA coordinator, double check, make sure everything was okay. And once we had to go ahead to do that, it was relatively pain-free, with only one genuine issue during the entire exam diet with digital technology, and it being a computer on the school's network, so the network that the council operates, not the Wi-Fi network that ExamNet was on. So every pupil who used ExamNet, no issues. The one pupil who used a school computer on the council network, an issue where work was potentially lost. So the pupils using ExamNet were able to get advantages that other ones just couldn't have. Again, the fact that pupils are using their own keyboards, their own earphones, the exact items that they're used to using on a daily basis was a huge game changer, because it meant we had a group of people who already had anxiety around the exams, already were worried, am I going to get my arrangements? Am I going to get the support I'm entitled to? Well, yes, you're using it all the time. You are in an environment that is consistent and that you can accept. And really, I think that's the best place to end on, because that is the end goal. Can we use this for the SQA? Can we use it in a way that is beneficial, that is highly impactful for both pupils and staff, in a way that genuinely refines already quite complicated and growing challenging situations? And absolutely is the answer. It is genuinely the answer to a problem that is only going to grow. You've done my bit. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Adam. So yeah, like as Adam kind of said, I think one of our biggest aspects that we genuinely love about it is the simplicity. We're able to set things up. The kids are using it. The kids are, their exam environment. The platform is replicated on a day-by-day ability because of the assessments that they're doing in class. They're doing it on the iPad. They're used to that, and I think that's one of the things. When we first implemented this, we did give, because we would have had senior phase pupils who had previously done their assessments at a different point in the year through the kind of a desktop PC, we still gave them the option. So we actually gave them a choice in relation to whether they would prefer to sit it on the desktops or whether they would like to do it on their iPads. And all of them chose the iPads, because actually once they had started using it, they became more and more comfortable with it. The joy of what we've done, and as Adam's saying, is because we run the session with the kids, they've all got their keyboard, they've all got their headphones. Because we're doing that in S1, by the time the kids are genuinely progressing through the school, they have had the, what would you kind of say, the exposure to ExamNet, throughout their kind of whole school career. And that's the joy of even our faculties kind of embracing it and saying, we're just going to do all S1 assessments. Adam, we've got lots of kind of examples. You create the exam once, that you can then add different staff to it. They can then share it, like this idea of, I'm sure we've all got tests, exams on a bit of paper that nobody knows where the original is, and it's that idea of all of these things can be created. The AB side of things for the science papers is huge. That's an actual SQA multiple choice element. That can be set up. It can be set up for the kids. They're then getting that kind of same idea, but it's even an auto marking part as well from there. So I suppose, Nick, kind of back to you. Is there any particular questions or from that side of things? Nick, you're still on mute. Sorry.
So I confess that I didn't actually hear what you said, because I was answering people in the chat. So I apologize. I zoned out. How embarrassing. Tell me what you want me to say more about again. Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry, we were just saying, is there any particular questions that have came in, or is there any questions that anyone has regarding how, kind of we've done things, or what we're doing at school regarding this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a question that just came up in the chat. Can I just ask you this? Because I think, someone was asking a question about uploading the SQA papers. Did you want to briefly say something about that on the, when you were actually in the exams?
Yeah, I mean, once again, the papers are released, the day before. We knew what papers we were doing. We knew what pupils were then sitting at. We were downloading them, as you would do normally, uploading them to ExamNet so that we then had them then sitting there. It wasn't an overly onerous time frame. In theory, it's just the same as putting them onto your network for the kids to then access if they were doing it via the desktop PCs. We didn't have any issues with that. Obviously, ExamNet, as Nicole kind of has highlighted, are working on a lot of kind of different aspects. I know one of the big things that they are working on is the write on PDF, which will be of huge benefit to us as once that kind of integration really becomes a little bit better. But from that side of things, that was very, very similar to what you would do normally. As Adam did say, that the main issue that the one issue that we had with IT this year was actually on a desktop. The biggest issue that we found in the past with using the PCs for any form of assessments was kids forgetting to save their work, and then they had closed that down and trying to get back. But because of the autosave ability or the autosave function that just happens naturally on ExamNet, you don't really have that same difficulty, which is really helpful.
Yeah. I'm thinking we should pass back to Paul now. Perhaps you want to round off, Paul. I'm looking at the time. I'm very happy to stay a few minutes more if people would like to ask questions personally, but I think maybe you want to finish off.
Well, thanks very much indeed. I mean, that was a hell of a lot of information in a very short space of time, so well done. But I think the main points are this is a tool here, and it has been used in anger, or not in anger, with joy
and
success.
Success.
And so that's really exciting, isn't it? So there must be loads of questions to ask. We will send you an email, everybody here, an email with the link to the recording once Nicola's saved it, and also the slides and contact details. I'm not terribly sure where we might want to go next. If you're interested, then I know that if you get in contact with Nick or other people in exam.net, they will do an online demo for you. I also know that they offer a 75-day free trial.
Yeah, I've written information about that on my presentation, which is going to go out and be shared through you, Paul, on call website. And on my presentation is also my email, and I'm really, really happy to answer any questions or give you an extra training session, whatever. So yes, please get in touch.
I think from Cole's point of view, I'm thinking, how can we support this? And I have created some sample assessments, just with SQA past papers in exam.net. So that's the kind of thing where we could all collectively collaborate on, I think, maybe, because all you need is, this magic code to share them. There's some work to be done. So one example would be, when you print out the student's submission from exam.net, what you don't get is, a digital answer book like an SQA one. But you do need to make sure that it's got the candidate number on and that kind of thing. So there's probably work. It's not training. It's more sharing good practice, I think. Starting with the people that have already done it in the form of Andy and Adam. So I think compared with where we were a year ago, this is very exciting. And you may also know that there's quite a lot of staff in Glasgow, and Glasgow as an authority are looking closely at this. And so I'm hoping that we can get some momentum here and get things going. I'd also like to just mention off the top of my head, exam.net, I think, was originally used in Scotland by staff and pupils in Robert Gordon's during COVID. And I just spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, and they are also intending to use exam.net for the actual 2025 SQA examinations. So we've got a community of practice, if you like, that's being created.
Can I also just add to that I'm currently in the process of creating like a guidebook to running the SQA exams, having listened to teachers in Scotland. So that will be coming soon as well.
Great. There's loads and loads of questions still there. Sarah Hall is asking, does this also work on desktops and access to the internet?
Yes, yes is the question. Is the answer yes? You can, as long as you've got this Safe Exam browser on a computer device, as opposed to an iPad or a Chromebook on a regular PC, then absolutely, and it's absolutely secure. So you can have students in the room with multitude of different devices, and it can work perfectly.
The Safe Exam browser, as far as I understand it, is basically, it's a browser like Google Chrome or Edge.
Yeah.
And you download it, but I think once you're in it, you can't get out.
No, you can't. And you may have noticed today, if you were in the exam and you came out, you probably pressed escape to reduce and get out of it. If you're in the high security mode, you can't do that. You just cannot. You cannot press escape. And if you do, you get a big flag in the monitoring view, and the teacher can come and give you a bash.
We hope not.
Metaphorically speaking, obviously.
Well, that's us now at 50 minutes. So unless anyone's got any other questions, can I say thank you very much indeed to Nick, Adam and
Pleasure.
Andy. And I don't know, we might repeat this.
I hope so. And I very much look forward to hearing from you. So please get in touch.
Yeah. Oh, Deborah Hislop has a question.
Oh,
Deborah, where are you?
has it gone up?
It's been answered. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Great. Well, I can see clap, assorted hands
nice
are
to
floating
see.
up and down. Expressions of love from Fiona Malone.
I'm not sure you can send anything negative, so I think.
All right.
But thank you, everyone.
Great.
It's nice. It's nice to see that
Okay.
it was, and it wasn't too high speed to get something out of.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and all the
Thank you
best.
all.
Good evening to you.
Yeah. Bye bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye bye.